Okay, hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to Happy Empires. Today we're talking with John Burgos from Beyond the Ordinary. And I'll tell you just a little bit about John in just a minute. But before I do, I want to tell you how you can interact with us. You can talk with us. You can ask questions. And we're doing that all on Instagram for this series. So go ahead and find our last post. And if you need the actual link, it's in every single email we're sending you. It's instagram.com/happy empires. And on the last post, just go ahead and comment. We have a staff that's going to be answering all your comments and any questions that you have. So we will be meeting there for this series. Now, today we're talking with John Burgos, and this is an interesting interview because I've known John for, I don't know, what would you say, four years, I believe.
Yeah.
At least 4 years. And at that time, we were just connected by someone else in the industry through synchronicity, and you know how the beauty of consciousness just likes you to intertwine people. And we had wine and we chatted for hours upon hours upon hours and just had an amazing, amazing day. Since then, I've seen John at several other marketing conferences, and we've intertwined and seen people that we know with each other, and we've kept this kind of, we talk every 4 or 5 months kind of conversation going. And to make the long story short, I've watched John go from not having a business at all to having a thriving multiple 6-figure, I don't know, it might have even overcome 7 figures. Yeah. And he's now, I met him in Houston when he had this like small life, and now it's got this extravagant life in Hawaii. And, and I guess let's just start, with, why don't you tell everyone, like, for you and your business, like, what was the initial, like, I want to do this, I want to start this, I think it would be really fun to do this?
Yeah, it was really interesting. And it's interesting that we started with a small life into a big life, but in my heart, I always carried that big life.
Mm-hmm. That was very clear to me when I met you.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt in your world at all.
No, it was just finding the vehicle, and sometimes it just requires patience and following the flow of what the universe is presenting to us and the synchronicities that show up. Like our meeting was so it was so beautiful, and just based on our relationship and the mutual love and respect that we had for each other, automatically created opportunities where we could help each other, not only on a professional basis, but also provide that authentic support that really acts as a catalyst for helping you to achieve your next level. Because we can say that we're all doing this alone, but the truth is we're not. We're doing this in collaboration with everybody and anybody that we interact with. And it's how we show up for those relationships that are really the key indicators and the guideposts for what's being presented as far as opportunities. Because again, as we constrict, our opportunities will constrict with other people because that's what they feel. And as we expand and embrace, then we're presented with other things that are possible for us. And so it's such a beautiful indication of our relationship, Jennifer, that you started that way.
Yeah.
As to what prompted it. And it was that connection, is wanting to authentically connect with other conscious entrepreneurs who were also aware that we had tapped into specific information that most of the world in our corporate old jobs weren't awake to. And our desire of wanting to share that authentically, because there's a different life that's possible once you're no longer ignorant to the ways of the world and the ways of energetics, that really expand not only our lives, but the people's lives around us as well. And that's, if we're looking to change the world, God, that's the place to do it.
Yeah. Now, this is really designed for those, upcoming business that are just starting out. So why don't you share a little bit on, like, what were some of the initial, like, engine and energetics and passions, so to speak, that you kind of put behind the growth of your company. And then why don't you also explain to them, you grow your business a little bit differently than how some of these people may be seeing businesses being grown. So why don't you also share kind of the methodology of your business just in real world terms?
Okay, let me start with the first question. So it's the catalyst for the business was really there was an authenticity um, and a sincerity of really wanting to share real life tools with people that would help them, that would help them see a different perspective, a different way of doing things. And it was and I wasn't led by the money.
Yeah.
And I could have been. I was down to $5,000 on my 401k and a $10,000 a month lifestyle, and I wasn't freaking out. And I knew that this was coming. And instead of getting a corporate job or doing other things, I followed my guidance and just kept in line with what I really found was my calling. I just, there was this innate confidence, and I don't know where it came from, but it's all going to be presented to you as you show up. And I know that sounds really vague and esoteric to a lot of you guys, but if you really look deep within, you know when you've reached those moments when you absolutely know what you know and you don't know why you know it. But you follow through with it, and it's that innate instinct. It's that precognition that we all have. That really anything that takes away from that is fear and doubt and judgment, whether it's our own judgment or other people's judgments and fears that we feel into. But tapping into that knowing and the why you're doing what you're doing is really the key. So for me, we had to have that triple bottom line win. I knew that it absolutely had to be good to me, and the business had to resonate with me. It had to spark a passion, a belief, a purpose in my life. And I had found the vehicle for it, which was wonderful. It's like I knew that anywhere where I got to share this message of empowerment and transformation for people would be a proper vehicle. And there could have been several different ways that could have been expressed. And I happened to choose a telesummit, which I'll tell you more about in a second. So first, it had to be good for me. It had to ignite my passion. It also had to be good for the people that I was collaborating with. If I invite speakers to be on the show and we co-create an opportunity to share information with a general audience, so it had to be good for them as well, because why would they show up if it wasn't? And then I had to make sure that our visions were aligned with really the third part of the triple bottom line win, which is really helping the clients, helping the people that we're reaching authentically, giving away information, knowing that it'll come back to us, just innately knowing, not knowing how it was going to show up, creating a platform for it, and trusting that as we gave great content out, that we were being satiated with our path, our passion, and our purpose, that it would satiate the audience also, and that would create an energy exchange that would be abundant for everybody involved. And so that was the premise, that was the foundation of the energetics for how I created Beyond the Ordinary show. And it was wonderful because when I first launched it, it should have taken me 3 to 6 months to launch it. It took me 6 weeks. I reached out to 40 different speakers I reached out to 60 different speakers, 40 of which said yes, 30 which were big time speakers who would call me back and go, we don't know why, but we have to say yes. We can't believe there's only 4 weeks left before you even start and that you're just reaching out, but we have to say yes, something about this feels right. So I knew I was on path. And that was wonderful. And again, the energetics were all congruent. That's why the expansion occurred. Now, the model that we use for this show is I provide what we call the show is a telesummit. It's an online radio show where it's a co-marketing effort between all the speakers to reach a specific audience. And that's the basis for the foundation of the audience that shows up. And so as we launch every season, I do 3 seasons a year, it's a new launch. And during that launch, the speakers promote our show and we promote the speakers as well. So we cross-collateralize our email marketing list to generate an audience. And that's how it first started. Now, since then, we've created more infrastructure. We do a lot more SEO, a lot of social media reach, that we're gaining a lot more organic traffic as well, not relying on recruitation and going over and over again. So I think we're doing a great job of creating a hybrid of what a telesummit looks like and adding a lot more value to it so that the speakers that participate get a lot more value than that hybrid email list between all the speakers and their current audience who's going to show up for their things anyway. Well, what's beautiful about the summit, which really resonated for me, is that, again, we're providing free content to the audience. All that we require is an email so that we can reach them and let them know what interviews are coming on and at what time and how they can engage with us. We take free calls. We really go into a lot of depth of conversation and transformation. So there's a tremendous amount of value that's giving at the front end without asking for any reciprocation whatsoever, other than an email address. And then from there, it's just we offer a back-end product that the speaker presents on the show, and that's how we monetize. If the audience resonates with the conversation and they want to go deeper into that work, then we do a great job of creating sales pages and really informing the listener as to what's available in that special offer so that they can look for the transformation that's being promised from the speaker. And so it works wonderfully. And I've been doing it 3 years now. And year 2, we reached the 7-figure mark, which was absolutely amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I want to just clarify for some of them, like, people come, through the speakers that you invite. I mean, the model is absolutely brilliant. Yet it only works if the interviews are awesome.
Right.
Which you do awesome interviews, and I've watched you. Now, do each of your seasons have 40 speakers?
We range, it depends on the season and the speakers that really resonate with me, because one of the things that's really important is that I find that authenticity with the guests that I invite to speak to represent our audience. And so sometimes I'm not feeling the conversation, or the energy doesn't seem to line, or I'm really looking for a particular type of speaker. And they've got to be heart. They've got to be walking their talk. That's paramount. Just like I have to be walking my talk also. So I have to be able to really carry it forward. So depending on the availability of different speakers, and I like finding new speakers and getting them out into the world. We've created some big successes on the show, which is so much fun. Totally. But no, the speakers will vary from season to season. Sometimes it'll be 40, sometimes it'll be 32. I think the least we've had is 28 one season, but it was a short season. And the most we've hosted was 45 in one season.
Wow.
I know. It was a big launch, but it worked well. It was fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys know that most of this is pre-recorded, but John does all his live too. So there's a lot of talk and conversation happening right there and then live with him too, which is kind of neat. Like they can actively chat with him. We might do a few like that.
We have callers come in, and it's all live on the spot. It's wonderful. And I do have to say, though, when I started the show, you were really one of the inspirations for me starting it. You were hosting your own telesummit at the time, and you did such a wonderful job, and you were so successful. It was so vibrating from you that looks like a model that seems like really a lot easier to duplicate than to innovate, because it was so genius how you guys created it. And it works so well with the audience as well. So thank you for really pioneering.
Thank you for acknowledging me.
Yeah.
Because I got to the point that I was like just a little tired of the same stories from some people, and I was like, I just need to interview different people.
and that's the thing, finding content that's really going to resonate for the audience, but really resonate for me first, because if I'm not engaged, if I'm bored,
right,
if I'm hearing the same thing over and over again, then I need to find something new to do, because I'm not being authentic with my audience.
Totally. Well, that's kind of, why we're doing this series and having a little different conversations with some of the people, because some of them are the same people I interviewed in consciousness, but I'm talking with them about this topic, and they've just been like, sure, I love you. I'm happy to share. And it's been great because now, I've watched them from when they were babies and how fast they grew. And so it's been absolutely phenomenal to watch that.
And it's wonderful also because you've seen the growth, which is really a great indicator of the market that's available for all of us as entrepreneurs when we follow our heart and let our audience come to us instead of us trying to chase a particular audience that may or may not resonate for us. And so all these breakout people that you've been inspirational for, truly, I mean, again, the inspiration that you bring forward and the energy of success that you carry, and you do it with passion and with purpose. It's really giving us a guiding line. It served as a beacon for a lot of us who weren't sure where our next step was going to be, but knew that we were driven by this desire to help other people and to commune with other people who were doing the same thing.
Wow. Thank you. And wow, it's been incredible, and just so incredible watching you grow. And I love how you kind of put it together in a triple bottom line that way. Like, it's first got to ignite my passion, and it's got to be good for the people that I collaborate with, right? And then you've got to have like the vehicle to expose it, the marketing vehicle. And I love how you even put together, like, in selecting your partners. I mean, that there's an innate knowing. So I'd like to keep these interviews a little bit short, but I'd like to talk a little bit about, one of the things that kept driving me forth in my business and was this drive and the seek for greater consciousness, that space where I know that I know that I know. And I'm wondering, and I know that you know how to answer this question. So I would love to kind of offer the listeners just a little more peace and depth. Like when they're insecure and they're doubting and they feel that they don't know and they're denying that they know, I'd love for you to kind of put in and add your taste on that. Like, how can you help people? What have you learned through your interviews? What have you learned through your self-study?
Well, the first thing I know whenever I get into that space is that I need to break away from what I'm doing and get out in nature and do something that's going to calm that feel down. Because when we start trying to find solutions from that space, we're creating more chaos in our field, and not really from a place that brings clarity and that opens up to that knowingness that's available within us. So the first thing is, when that comes up, take a break, step away. And this industry has been so rich for me in the resources of friends of other transformational leaders that I've had. So I don't hesitate to pick up the phone and say, I'm going through this. This is kind of what's coming up for me. I feel this, this, and this. Being on a sounding board for me, or just find someone to communicate with. You find a lot of times that when you share your vulnerabilities with someone else, you answer your own questions and your own doubts. And it leads you on a path where you really take an honest look as to what your intention is with what you're creating, why you're creating what you're creating. I can tell you that I've had shows and certain speakers that at the beginning I was motivated solely by money, by having them on the show. And it was conflicting for me because I felt that, but I also felt that they could provide something. But money was the lead. Yeah. Money was the lead in it, and then the intention to serve was second. And without fail, those flopped every single time.
Oh my goodness. It's so funny.
Every single time. And that's the universe going, you're off path. That's not how we're showing you how to do this. So look at your motivation as to why. If your motivation is fear, to create something, I'm afraid I'm not going to have money. I'm afraid I can't buy that house. I'm afraid I can't have that car. I'm afraid I can't go shopping at Neiman's, whatever. If that's your primary motivation to create abundance that way, then there's a deeper level within your soul that's asking to be called out and acknowledged, because that's going to lead you to your greater purpose. Anything else that's outside of the purpose is based on judgment and fear and scarcity. And when we get to a place where we can trust that we're being guided and that we actually do live in an abundant world, all we have to do is align our purpose with our mission and be willing enough to authentically speak our voice, not the voice that sounds like it can sell, that sounds like it can meet certain things for your client, but the voice that comes authentically for you, why you believe that you can truly help someone. and you can carry that forward with that conviction from deep within, even though you may not have the answers out here, then you know you're on path. Then the judgment, the fear, the doubts that come up, they don't last long in your field, because again, when you're driven from your heart, from your soul, from that purpose, there's nothing that can really hold you back. And synchronicity shows up. People show up, opportunities show up, business partnerships present themselves that otherwise wouldn't have, because of that open space that you're holding and the sincerity that you carry it with. Because anybody energetically, I don't care where you're from in the world, can read energetic BS a mile away.
Yeah.
But when you're open and authentic, people can feel that also, and they want to collaborate with you. And if they don't collaborate with you, they at least want to help you and guide you in a way that may help you create something even bigger and better than what you thought you can create on your own.
That's awesome. I love that. Oh my goodness. I was writing down the notes to that. I think, and it took me a while to find that whole breakaway into nature thing.
Yeah.
And my vehicle was a yoga class, but I had done that just naturally, like that. I didn't know, but then I found that after I got my horse, that was my vehicle to be back to me, to get away from the noise.
I think that's really cool too, because a lot of times when we break away into other distractions. So we break away with our kids. We break away with a group class, or going to go work out with other people, or we break away and watch TV and disengage.
Right.
But what that's not giving us is that sovereign time that we need within ourselves to really recenter and get into our own undistorted energy. And when you get into the undistorted energy, which nature helps you calibrate, then the clarity comes. It's a meditation. It's a walking meditation. It's a communing with nature that really helps to expand and get you into that clear space to be able to download those knowings much more easily.
I love that. And oh my goodness, I think that's just like the biggest golden nugget. And I know that sounds like, whoop-de-doo, come on, give us some good things. Like, I want to grow $1 million business. Let's not talk about getting back to nature. But if you don't know
these are the tools that I use to grow my $1 million business.
Oh my gosh, totally. And if you don't know who you are, you can't do anything if you have no clarity. I mean, you're basically just running yourself in circles, doing a whole lot of work that's not even creating anything.
Yeah, and understand that clarity comes in stages also. So you're not going to get 100% clear all the time. But if you're just clear enough to take the next step,
right,
that's already enough. And so a lot of times we approach this clarity with an all or nothing type of mentality. You have to have the clear path to the end goal. And that's not necessarily how it works. So when we approach that striving for clarity, if we do it with a lot of compassion for ourselves as well, and understanding that we don't have to know everything all at once, then the clarity becomes a lot easier to work with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I've got one more question for you. And I actually have two, because I also want you to tell them how to get on your list so that they can get the free interviews that you do. I'm curious. One of the things that I talked about in a previous interview, I said that I'm kind of a millionaire in recovering, because what happened to me was basically once I hit that mark, I really got complacent and content and starting to want to like not do it anymore. Like that was the point that I was like, I reached the goal and I was done. And, now I'm like coming back and playing on the playground again. I'm kind of curious from you and your viewpoints. Have you ever hit a place like that? And what advice do you have whether it's that kind of goal, or whether it's, fitness goal and then you start binging or what have you, right? What kind of advice do you have for that? Is there, go for it.
No, it's really interesting because I can feel into your how you created your $1 million business. I know what you went through to do that, and the processes that you followed, and it was work. You had to go,
Right? I just
you
don't want to
you
work.
you
Let's
had,
be
well,
clear.
no, you had this goal in mind, and it's the same with the fitness goal. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, and I'm going to do this, and this hardcore regimen that's not really driven by your passion. It's driven by an egocentric motivation to reach a particular goal. And once you get there, you're like, this isn't really my path and purpose and my passion.
Hmm.
I got to here. It's fantastic because the residual effects of it, of having this cash flow come in, has given me a freedom. But because you've reached a goal that helps you achieve the freedom, you no longer need the vehicle anymore. So you're like, screw the vehicle. What I really wanted was the freedom. And so I'm going to fall into this
Mm,
and give myself the time to recover, because
that's hard work.
you worked yourself to the ground.
I did. Well,
You worked yourself to the
I mean,
ground.
in the way that I was doing it, it was.
And when people, yeah, absolutely. So
The
when
way
people
you're
approach,
doing it, it doesn't.
there's flow, there's flow. And so it's the same thing when people approach their fitness goals. It's like they're gonna completely diet, cut out all carbohydrates. They're gonna limit their calories. They're gonna not eat foods that they're craving on a continuous basis. And it's this basis of sacrifice.
Mm,
When you're in your business, you sacrifice time with your family and your kids and friendships, and everything was about this particular goal. At the end of the day, how could you not be exhausted? Because you weren't filling your cup and all of these other areas, and nurturing yourself in ways that really nurtured you,
yeah.
your family, your friends, and nurtured your passion and purpose. Your purpose wasn't to make $1 million. Your purpose was to share the message which you uniquely have within you that others can benefit from. And you found a vehicle to do it in, but you sprinted towards it and it left you exhausted. You sprinted a marathon is what you did. And
Yeah.
so it's trusting that you're going to get there without having to push so hard,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's going to flow in. And not to set these crazy, I mean, the crazy goals are awesome, but have balance in your life enough so that it's sustainable, and also figure out where your joy and play is. Because if we're doing something without joy and play,
Yeah.
then it's going to fall empty every single time. It's not sustainable.
Right. Yeah.
And we've all
Well,
done
and,
that.
and that's actually, so now it's only gone to that. Like it's only about joy and play, which is why I'm doing these things now. It's like, okay, let's have these conversations about happy. Because it actually led me into like seeking, like how, who is it that I know that is growing and growing and expanding in this space of just, it's my lifestyle. I just grow and expand instead of like, racehorse, then the race is over and then the racehorse dies. I mean, it's sort of like the jockey bounced off and maybe the jockey's like, okay, but probably going to have to go to rehab.
Totally. It's crazy. It
Yeah.
was funny. I was in San Diego checking into a hotel room,
Hey,
and
John, will you turn your camera a little bit more towards your head? I'm starting to miss your eyes sometimes there. That's better.
so I was in an elevator checking into a hotel room in San Diego, and valet was helping us with our bags. And the guy turns around and looks at me. He goes, "What do you do for work?" And I had to pause because I didn't understand the question anymore.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hold on a second. Let me find that. It's like, oh, you mean, what do I do to, like, what do I do?
Yeah. What do I do?
I live, I guess you can say that, but it's gotten to the point with the summit and other co-creations that are coming up that it's difficult to relate to the relate to the word work, because it doesn't feel like that, especially from doing the corporate thing and all this responsibility thing. It's, yeah, we have responsibilities and we follow structure and all that, but again, it's driven by a bigger purpose, that I can see a small part of, I know, and there's a bigger picture to it, because we create ripple effects in everything that we do whenever we work in transforming other people's lives. But there's such a deep sense of satisfaction and play and fun and purpose and and passion and collaboration with other people that I can't define it with the old terminology of what we are used to hearing with the energetics of the word work. It doesn't work for me anymore. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting closer to that.
I think you've done lots of difference. I think you've glimpsed it a ton of times because you carry a lot of purpose and passion, and you're so driven by curiosity and trying out new things and technology. And I think that's really part of your passion as well, tinkering and fixing and innovating, creating success, and then moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, and when the summit started, the guy who did it with me, we were like, I mean, we were kind of the pioneers of that. Yeah. And then he kept growing, and I'm like, oh, this is like exhausting. So, you know, because I'm not driven that much by money, a little bit by money, but not that much. And then so it was like, I'm going off to play with all this dough.
Right.
And then I guess and then I'm a little bit like, no, this is just too much play. Like, you know, I don't want to only do yoga all the time or only travel all the time and you know, and only home decorate a house, which is very fun, but it's, I want to create a greater contribution for the world. And so I think that, you know, that's kind of been, I'm kind of rambling on here, but yeah, that's kind of been where, thank goodness that I got to that point where it's like my wave of like kind of crashed in a way, like almost like an acoustical wave, not like a crashing down rock bottom wave. I mean, it was sort of like the wave came down and now the wave is like, woohoo! Now we get to play on Instagram, Snapchat, and do all the social media stuff that is almost like me just living again. Yeah, which I'm having fun with that.
And the indicators are so obvious. We just choose to ignore them. Do you feel like you have energy? Do you feel, how's your weight, your body image? How do you feel about yourself? How's your family relating to you? Or how open are you when you go to the grocery store or in your car? How happy are you?
Right.
Those are all just obvious indicators that we choose to ignore on a continuous basis. But the body image thing, our whole weight thing, I tell everybody, when you see me in great shape and I'm looking like I'm humming, you know life's going great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see putting on weight and lethargic and all this and sluggish, you know there's something probably not right, and there's something I probably need to adjust that I would love for you to have a conversation with me about if it's a blind spot for me. And the beautiful thing is that we get to go through the waves, like you said, of it, and it's all part of life and loving and living and being here in this physical world and enjoying it. But try to find that, again, once you find your purpose, and the purpose can change.
It's not even like finding your purpose. You're already almost being your purpose, and you just aren't aware that you're being it. Like it's almost like you can't really get off path. You know, I ended up like I was on a biochemistry thing in college, like eons ago. We won't say. And I have never. I've always, in some way, come back to nutrition. You know, even these days, it's like I won't help people specifically with diet, but for me, I mean, it's like a way of life, and it always has. And it's just so interesting how that happens. It's crazy.
And it's funny. So we're imprinted with our particular purpose, and it can be expressed in so many different ways. And so finding those expressions of what ignites you, what gives you passion, it's, again, your purpose can be defined on a daily basis, because it's all based really on the core igniter of who you really are, what you came here to do, your contribution to humanity, and we all have a contribution to it.
Right.
Whether we have multi-million-dollar businesses or we're hanging out at the houses of our family, it's we're all contributions in one way or another, and contribute to the global consciousness. And so it's beautiful that we get to show up.
Yeah. Well, I want you to tell them how and where to go to get on the list for your summit. so that they can kind of watch like the front end of what you do.
Check out the funnel. The funnel's freaking fantastic, and the interviews are just through the roof. Amazing. I will warn you, I'm on the left of woo-woo, so there's going to be some really.
Well, they're gonna find that out slowly. I slowly have taken them in there on a few other conversations. We'll just kind of put these separate, so you know.
It's a beautiful on the left of woo-woo because it's really grounded in applications and how to use energetics and apply it to your daily life and your business. And it gets you in congruency with that energy that we're all seeking of alignment, and ebb and flow and grace. So it's the platform's amazing. You can get to it by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com, and I'll take you to the front page. And we've created some amazing infrastructure on the platform that if you guys click through the different links, you'll see some of the obvious ones, and then on the back end there's lots of components that we worked really hard to really level up how we show up for the audience and for the speakers that we invite to the show. So it's a lot of fun. It's a passion. We get to play with it, and it's expanding into other areas as well. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, and the interviews are super fun to listen to too. Yeah.
I have a job in the
even if they seem to get out in the weird, unpractical land, John has a way of bringing them back so that whoever you are, can relate.
Oh yeah. Well, we're all looking for love and acceptance and growth and abundance and success, and we bring you back to that every single time because that's the whole purpose of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much, John. And we'll put the link in the blog below, and of course you'll see the interview up on Snapchat. So please comment, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Great being with you here.